Morning, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started with our community development meeting. Today's date is September 25, 2025. The time is 10 a.m. In attendance are Commissioners Eberline, Duncan, and Matari. I'm going to call this meeting to order, and I would like to just begin with some opening remarks, if I could. Today, we are having a hearing on an amendment to existing ordinance to include data centers. For those of you who may not be aware, we are not making a decision on whether to approve or deny an application for a data center, but instead are including them within ordinance so that if a company applies to build a data center, that it has well-defined requirements where none currently exist. When no requirements exist, then the likelihood of an application being approved is virtually automatic. For those people who are here for this specific issue, this board first thanks you for actively participating in your community and eagerly would like to hear your feedback on requirements that could be incorporated in ordinance to better mitigate negative impacts to our community. Further, and in an effort to respect everyone's time, I respectfully ask that you refrain from making excessive noise when testimony is given, but rather raise your hands to show the commissioners that you are in support of such comments. It will be duly noted and appreciated so that we can work through our hearings today smoothly. Again, thank you for attending here today and participating in shaping the future of our community. And with that said, are there any changes to the agenda? Polls for conflicts of interest? Any? None here? Okay, we'll move into deliberations. Our first item, this is VAR 25-0002. Varley Lakehouse. It's an action item, and Justice McGeorge, did you want to start us off?
Yes, sir. Good morning, Commissioners. Planner Justice McGeorge with Community Development. And I believe you have been supplied with an executive summary, a hearing examiner recommendation. And so I would just like to confirm if you would, I have a presentation prepared, and please advise if you'd like to hear it.
Would you like to see the presentation?
I don't need to with the packet of information, but if he wants to.
You're okay if we don't? Yeah, we do not need to see the presentation.
Okay.
So with that said, are there any thoughts from anybody up here?
I think the site is constrained and it fits into all the criteria to approve this variance, and it does not seem like the variance will negatively interfere with the neighbors.
Commissioner Eberline?
I'll wait.
I'm sorry.
I'll wait.
You'll wait.
I'm fine. Go for it.
Okay, well, without objection, I'll take a motion then.
So I move that we approve VAR 25-0002, which is the Varley Lakehouse variance.
Second.
Commissioner Eberline,
Aye.
Commissioner Duncan,
Aye.
Chair Matari.
Aye, motion carries. Next up is our public hearings. We have 3 of them, and is it possible, Director Callahan, that we might be able to combine 2 of those? Is that?
Thank you. Yes, sir, it is. And I would actually encourage you to do so. We did that at the Planning Commission. It's more efficient, and that way, especially since we have no concerns from the public at the Plan Commission, and none that I've heard since then, and because this is really just a housekeeping measure, it makes good sense to have one hearing for both.
Okay, and we don't have any comments for the other hearing at this point?
I haven't seen any.
Okay, so then we will go into a public hearing for ORA 25-0005, Family and Utility Division of Lands, and ORA 25-0006, Road Standards. They're both action items, and we'll start off with our Director, David Callahan.
Commissioners, again, the ordinances in front of you actually have been in the code for a year. They have worked well. We know that from experience. And we presented this at Plan Commission on September 11th. They unanimously agreed to recommend approval on both of these items. And so unless you have questions, and because the staff analysis is in here for you to see that we believe this meets all the criteria in the code and the comprehensive plan analysis, we think it's ready before you for your consideration.
Thank you. Are there any questions up here? We'll move into public testimony. We'll begin with ORA 25-0005, Family and Utility Division of Lands. Is there anyone who would like to speak for this ordinance? Is there anyone on the telephone? No? Going once. Anyone want to speak for the ordinance? Going twice. Okay. Is there anyone here who would like to speak against the ordinance? Anybody on the telephone? No. Going once. Twice. Okay. Would anyone like to speak for ORA 25-0006, road standards? Anyone like to speak for that ordinance? Nobody on the phone. Going once. Going twice. Anybody like to speak against the ordinance? Going once, going twice. I would take a motion to end public testimony and enter into deliberations.
I move that we end public testimony for ORA 25-0005 and 006 and enter into deliberations.
Second.
Commissioner Eberline,
Aye.
Commissioner Duncan,
Aye.
Chair Matari.
Aye. Thoughts?
Staff said it, that they've been working well, and we always have the opportunity to revisit if something changes where it no longer suits the citizens.
Commissioner Eberline?
I concur.
All right. Well, with that said, I will take a motion.
I move that we approve ordinance 25-0005, Family and Utility Division of Lands, and ORA 25-0006, road standards.
Second.
Commissioner Eberline,
Aye.
Commissioner Duncan.
Aye.
Chair Matari.
Aye. Both the ordinances carry. Thank you. And now on to the main event. ORA 25-0007, data centers. It's an action item. And Director David Callahan, you can get us started here.
Thank you, Commissioners. Good morning, everyone. The data center issue is a hot topic nationwide. I just saw an advertisement yesterday, or rather a newspaper article online. The major players in this effort now are saying they'll spend $300 billion in the next few years on new data centers. That's on top of those that are already built. And so I think our ordinance is timely. For the public, I should mention that you approved a moratorium 6 months ago that actually ended last August. So it's right on time for this to be in front of you. Because as you stated, at the moment, we don't have any current regulations for these things. So if a data center came in one of our industrial zoning districts, we would have to issue a building permit, no questions asked. The proposal in front of you is for a conditional use permit process, which you know requires that certain criteria be met up front. The staff reviews that. We refer it out to our sister agencies for their comments. We compile all that, bring it to a hearing with the hearing examiner, and then with you. And so the conditional use permit process gives a very thorough vetting of proposals. I'm confident that the listed proposal in front of you does as good a starting point as we can divine at the moment. There were a number of concerns at Plan Commission. We captured 8 of those. We promised the Plan Commission that we would circle back and give them an analysis of each of those 8 things. If we don't end up banding these all together or outright, which I want to make clear is certainly an option before you, but if you want to do an outright ban of data centers, my suggestion is you go ahead and approve what's in front of you today, because we need to circle back around, re-advertise, go back to the Plan Commission with an ordinance that bans data centers completely in the county. And that takes the usual process of a 28-day notice. We can double notice like we did here to shorten that time frame. But we still need to go back to Plan Commission and then you. So I would rather have regulations in place while we're circling back for an outright ban, if that's what you want to do. So with that, I'm confident you have read through the ordinance. I'll just tack on that the Plan Commission hearing on the 11th was a split vote, 5 in favor, 1 opposed. Commissioner Bateson wanted additional information. And that's the 8 items I mentioned to you. It had to do with water quality, noise and setbacks, power, traffic construction, economics and workforce, public safety, and how this would work with our sister cities and policy issues. So again, we promised the Plan Commission, if we're not going to do a ban, we'll do that research and determine if that would result in additional amendments to the conditional use permit that's before you. The last couple of things I can think to add are that there are some economic benefits to data centers, and that might be one of the reasons why you might contemplate continuing to have a conditional use permit process, because in the event that we found a location in the county that was obscure, most people wouldn't care about it being there, and it's in a place that's not going to affect our aquifer, and you see where I'm going with this. The economic benefits can be significant. Back to the envelope calculations I did this morning, using state law and our local ad valorem process, I came up with a rough number of, if 1 million square feet were here, that's $2 million a year in ad valorem taxes for the county. Another $7 million roughly for our sister agencies like library, EMS, fire, so on and so forth. So there can be real tax revenue for the county. I know from looking across the nation, there are places like Loudoun County, Virginia, that have generated as much as $890 million in tax revenue in 1 year. So these data centers can be real tax economic engines. That's the upside. Of course, there are downsides. And I think you will hear from the audience the downsides, so I won't belabor that. Are there any questions I could answer for you?
Are there any questions?
Probably just verifying more than anything. This only has to do with the unincorporated area of the county.
Yes.
So the cities are not bound by this ordinance.
Yes.
Or if we decide to outright ban, cities would not be bound to this.
That's exactly right.
Okay. And we have no applicants right now for a data center.
That's correct. We have no data centers in the queue.
Okay. And then I think that is probably it for now. If folks want to come in and have a
Yeah,
seat.
just for those of you who want to speak, if you have not filled out an orange form in the back, please do so and turn it in to a staff member to my right, your left, and we will give you an opportunity to speak. Commissioner Eberline, did you have anything you wanted to ask? Or
Yeah.
I'm just, if I could, just ask Director Callahan, we're talking about an ordinance for a data center. And, the next level above that would be the comp plan. And that most of the issues related to our community begin with the comp plan. And for example, if that comp plan discussed, maximum allowable use of water or, on a volume basis, and where we would want those policies to be, that could help further enforce if there is a data center or whether there could be a data center with our ordinance, correct?
Sure. I think if I could jump in, I think the value of revisiting the comp plan on this issue is it's always more defensible, and our attorney can opine on this, but if we go to court, it's always more defensible if we've set policy in place dealing with the big picture that our ordinances then reinforce.
Yeah, and that would hold true for service levels,
Yes, sir.
for county or even city service levels for their comp plan. And once those are established, they could set in place ordinance for their own city-level services that would help them make yay or nay decisions on growth. Is that correct?
That's exactly right.
So, and that's the way to do it. It begins with a comp plan.
Yes, sir.
Comment for David Callahan. I'm glad you're getting behind the 8 ball right now.
Thank you. Thank you kindly.
Yeah. Any other questions? No? Well, then we will go into public testimony. And we have, and you'll have to forgive me if I do not pronounce your name correctly. I have Douglas, and is it Landower? Landler. And you wish to speak, and you are in favor. So you can come on up to the microphone. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Well, my name's Douglas Landwehr. I've lived in Bayview since 1975. I'm a realtor, and I just wanted to reiterate what Mr. Callahan said. There is a demand for data centers that's huge, even for our area, probably because we have some of the most affordable power rates in the nation, so that's a big plus. And and then I think too, with you're spelling out pretty stiff requirements for, the adoption of, or the approval of data centers with with these rules or guidelines to bring in data centers. So that's all I'm saying. Is just there's a demand for data centers, nationwide and even around here. So
I'm just curious, because you say the electricity is affordable here. Do you think a data center would affect that affordability for the community at all?
I don't know. I mean, I could say, theoretically, you probably would, but I don't know. I have no. I've talked with the utilities a little bit, but not about that. That. So I don't know. I can't answer that.
Okay.
With an educated guess, or how should it be? So, but anyhow, just wanted to let you know that there's they're wanting in here, and I don't know that it'd be a bad thing to have a data center, so we have a place to collect our local, knowledge and information or whatever they want to store. So
Yeah.
and it's going to meet all the requirements, and I understand it takes a lot of water and electricity, but thank you.
All right. Thank you. Do you have any questions? No. Okay. Are these all opposed here?
Yes.
Okay.
All the rest are
Wishes
opposed,
to
and these
speak.
are not wishes.
Okay. Okay.
People that need chairs.
Yeah, I guess they could. There's
You can
more
come
people.
over here and sit on over the side over here if you want to. Or you can stand.
Okay, next up is Bill Breezy. Wishes to speak? Opposed? You have 3 minutes.
Yes, my name is Bill Breezy. I live at 12201 North Strayhorn, and I am in the county, and you are my only elected officials. I'm here to speak in opposition to this ordinance. I did speak at the Planning and Zoning Commission, and I was going to repeat those that same speech, but I'm, I'm hoping you've seen my testimony and I don't have to repeat any of that stuff. So, but since then, I have thought a lot about Kootenai County trying to avoid land use lawsuits and reviewed parts of your zoning ordinance to see where these concerns come from. As far as I can tell, every zoning classification has a list of not only permitted and conditional uses, but also non-permitted uses. I'm not an attorney, but to me, as a recovering architect, land planner, and my past experience with working with municipalities where I have worked on zoning issues and codes, this is a huge red flag to me. I am sure that your non-permitted uses do not cover every single use that is not wanted in Kootenai County. Today, it's about data centers, but what about the next use that comes along and the ones thereafter, and where does this stop? I have also researched Hayden's zoning code. It also lists the approved and conditional uses for each zone category, but that's it. If it's not listed as approved or conditional, it is not an approved use. Period. There is no debate, no potential lawsuit. By the way, Hayden did have an inquiry in regards to a data center, and they said it's not an approved use, and there's been no lawsuit. I cannot tell you how many different times I've heard, oh, but we can be sued at the Planning and Zoning Commission public hearing. But what has not been addressed is the cause of these potential lawsuits. Again, not as an attorney, but since your ordinance lists every non-permitted use, and in my opinion, for what it's worth, this is the main reason for the worry about lawsuits. My advice is get rid of the non-permitted uses. It's either an approved use or a conditional use, and after that, it's not allowed. I do want to, reiterate some of my testimony, and I will skip some of it, but let me start with property rights. I fully believe one should be able to do whatever they want to with their property that they own. However, in my opinion, someone's property rights ends where it affects the property rights of others.
Thank you, Mr. Breezy.
No.
No.
It's 3 minutes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Kathy Mickles. Wishes to speak, is opposed.
Good morning. As you stated, my name is Kathy Mickles, and I'm opposed to this. One cannot make data centers better with amendments and good intentions because the root of it is rotten. Things are moving so fast in the tech world, it's next to impossible for anyone to keep up with what's going on, which to me explains the short-sighted decision-making of the planning department. Opening the door to data centers is going down the wrong road and should be opposed. Economic benefits? Seriously, I have to laugh. Because supporting data centers is like digging ourselves into a hole, and for those who claim that they oppose the surveillance state mindset, this is a key component. There's no way to make it good. And if you don't know why, then that suggests to me that more homework needs to be done. So I want to reiterate that one cannot make data centers better with amendments and with good intentions, because the root of it is rotten. Thank you.
Thank you. And actually, I have a question for Pat. I just want to clarify it. Is our ordinance, our land use, is it set up that it's exclusive, meaning that we describe what can be used on the land and only that? And if it's not on the inclusive list, I should say, then you cannot perform that? Or is it because it's not listed specifically, the likelihood of it actually occurring, meaning a land use, increases?
Well, there's actually middle ground between the two in extremes in our ordinance, and it's the sections that have to do with new or unlisted uses, where the director can initially make a call whether it's allowed or not, and then that can go to the planning commission. They can suggest a course of action in how to treat it, and then that would ultimately go to the board. So it's not really, if it's not permitted, it's prohibited, or if it's not specifically permitted, it's permitted. It's neither of those.
It becomes subjective at that point.
Yes.
And so, yes,
And
Director Callahan.
commissioners, there's, in the industrial district, there's a broad reach of language that, if my memory serves me, would allow a data center. So
Outright, yeah.
Outright. So I don't think there's a question about it being, at the moment, allowed in the industrial district.
Now, in the 5 residential zones plus the mining zone, commercial uses are prohibited except as specifically permitted, either by right or with a conditional use permit or special notice permit. So those are covered. We're mainly talking about the light industrial and industrial zones, although I did, after the planning commission hearing, I did add a section that would outright prohibit data centers in the commercial zone, just to make that clear.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking about the light industrial and industrial zones, which is a very small percentage of the land, the zone land in the unincorporated county.
And so that right now is ambiguous.
Yes.
And because of that, it makes it subjective.
Well, I think we can rule out the ambiguity in the industrial district. Right now, it's allowed
Okay.
in the industrial and light industrial.
Data centers.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
They are allowed
Yes, sir.
currently as it is right now.
Yes, sir. And that's what we meant by our opening statements, where a building permit would have to be issued if we had a request in one of those districts.
It shall be issued, in essence.
Yes, sir.
And
That's,
so,
again, why I'd like to have something,
And
if
so-
you want to say no altogether.
and so this ordinance is in essence a way to prevent a shall issue
Yes.
and put conditions, albeit perhaps stringent conditions, arguably, that would keep that from happening. And yet we could still revisit this to end up putting together an absolute ordinance that would prohibit them completely. Is that correct?
Yes.
So this is an interim measure for us to look at, but I still want to hear from people. I think the board wants to hear from people.
Yes.
But if you're against this ordinance, in essence, what you're saying is that we keep the door open for a shall issue under certain zoning situations.
Fair assessment.
So for those who are wanting to make it harder for a data center, you should be for this ordinance, in essence, to make it harder at this point in time, because right now there are no requirements prohibiting in certain zoning districts. Is that correct?
That's correct, but it would still be useful to know from people who want us to ban it outright.
Yes, and that's what I hope to hear from today. I think the board would want to hear that as well. Okay, with that said, next up is Jen Noel, who wishes to speak and marked opposed.
I am opposed. We are being informed that data centers take exorbitant amounts of water and electricity, producing deafening noise 24/7, and we do not know what these facilities are doing to our ecosystem, to name just a few concerns. But if these issues were to be resolved, would we still want these data centers? Many of these data centers are being built to house data collected on us, free people, through surveillance collected by other entities through facial recognition, traffic cameras, automated license plate readers, and social media, just to name a few sources. As free people, surveillance is a violation of our God-given rights. Placing restrictions on these data centers is not a solution. Banning these data centers is the appropriate solution. These facilities have no place in Kootenai. Saying that most of the land in Kootenai County is owned by federal, state, and tribe is not a safeguard because these lands can always be sold. There seems to be a fear circulating in our local government that if we don't have guidelines for data centers, the county could be sued. But why are our elected officials making decisions based on fear? Fear of a lawsuit. Free people have a right to remain free, and that should be the foundation of all our government decisions if our elected officials are truly representing the people. Ban data centers in Kootenai County because there is no place for them here.
And Ms. Noel, I would just like to say that, first of all, thank you for what you've been helping out with on a separate matter. And that I don't think the board is afraid of lawsuits, but we want to win the lawsuits. And right now, the board is not winning the lawsuits. So I just want to thank you personally for your efforts on a different matter. Next up is Tom Schaefer, wishes to speak. Opposed?
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Tom Schaefer, and I live in Hayden. You know I'm also an elected official, city councilman in Hayden. I'm really here to speak as a citizen rather than as an elected official because Mr. Breezy already covered kind of the code issues that Hayden has in place, but I'm still concerned that there's always a gray area, and where we have a monolithic entity like data centers coming in, that they're going to look for the gray areas in order to avoid whatever language we have in our ordinances. In my time left, I'm going to speak just about one issue that really concerns me when it comes to data sources and data centers, and that's how much they consume in resources. I don't know if you know an individual, Meg Wolf, who is an assistant director of the Idaho Water Resources Research Institute. Well, I just spoke to her a few days ago about the state of our aquifer because she was quoted in a recent article on the CDA Press, and I was kind of stunned at the conclusion of this article because it said our aquifer was just fine. Well, she told me, in fact, it's not just fine, that our aquifer is under threat by current usage, and with the growth we have in our county, more and more straws are being stuck down in the aquifer to consume water, and it's not getting recharged fast enough. This is evidenced by the fact that the Spokane River dried up this summer, just a mile or two over the border into Idaho, and she told me this is a direct proxy for the health of the aquifer. We all know that data centers are resource hungry. I heard a pithy quote the other day that if you think Bitcoin consumes a lot of electricity, wait until a data center comes online in your community. Well, it's the same thing for water consumption as well. I frankly, as a citizen, I understand when Mr. Callahan talks about the tax implications and the potential revenue that the county could get from it, but I don't think it's worth the trade-off and the effect to the community and to our precious resources like the aquifer that we have here in Kootenai County. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Next up is Tim Saint, wishes to speak, is opposed. Come on up, you got 3 minutes.
Hey, thank you. I'll be real brief. My main concern, I live on Front Ant Hill here in Coeur d'Alene. My main concern would just be on the data that's being collected if we did have a data center. It's kind of a slippery slope. And at this point, I don't know what kind of data, is intended to be collected. But I would just, I guess provide a quote I think we're all pretty familiar with from Benjamin Franklin. It says, "Those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety." And so, I mean, if this data is being collected supposedly for the safety of the citizens, if it violates our constitutional right to the Fourth Amendment, which I think you know as well, I won't read it, even though I have it written down here, but that would be my main concern on the type of data that's being collected, that it's not invading our privacy. And of course, we know the tech companies, have claimed certain things. We're only collecting this. We all know what Alexa claimed it collected, and it turns out, it collects a lot more. So that would be my main concern. That's why we're in North Idaho, as opposed to the blue state where I came from. And I just hope we're sensitive to that. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Saint. Next up is Amy McCamley, wishes to speak, opposed. Oh, okay. Well, then, should I call her name later, or she might show up? All right, well, then, the next person up, I believe, is yourself, Amy Fonstrom. Wishes to speak and is opposed.
Okay. Hello. I'm Amy Fonstrom, and I'm an Idaho native. I always bring that up because I feel like so many people are coming into Idaho and changing it. And I feel like a lot of our commissioners and different people that hold public office are from other states. And it's just changing so much. And the data centers, we definitely don't want the conditional permits that you were talking about. We just want it banned altogether. I mean, majority of people that couldn't even be here today have the same feeling. I know a lot of stuff was already said. And actually, I know that we came and testified last week, was it last week? For the land use board. And do you guys watch those? I was just curious. You don't watch our testimony or anything, so.
We're generally provided minutes a lot of
Oh,
times.
okay. I was just curious because just some of the things that haven't been brought up are regarding the data centers, all the downside. The land basically around it is ruined. It kills the wildlife, it kills animals, everything like that. The noise is deafening. And it should be, the land that's used for that should be used for, local businesses or even residents if they can. That's how I feel. Also, it was disturbing to me that the board last week, they went ahead and moved ahead voting yes when other members really had a lot of questions. And I know you were given the questions. I know Dave said he had passed those on. But I feel like instead of making decisions right away, doing research and knowing exactly what we're looking at is so important, and it just doesn't get done. So I really hope that, and I understand you may need to put something in place temporarily, but what's the process, or if maybe you guys could explain the process of getting it banned altogether, what that would look like? Because I know you had mentioned putting something in place and then maybe coming back around. You said it might take a little bit of time
About 3
to ban
months.
it. About 3 months, okay,
About 3
gotcha.
months. And this is interim, just because what happened was we put a moratorium on them. And that is only for a certain amount of time, and then that expires. And so we can't have a perpetual moratorium using a moratorium. So this was our community development's attempt to at least get something in place quickly, and the board can provide direction, which it can do at this meeting, I believe, to investigate what is involved with outright banning them in the unincorporated part of the county.
Gotcha. Well, I did hear that Hayden banned them. City of Hayden had told, I think it was Jen and Bill, that they had banned them. I just want to say thank you, and I really hope, because you live here in our community as well, that you will ban them. We don't want them. Let's slow everything down and try to keep Coeur d'Alene as small as we possibly can for as long as possible. Well, and Hayden everywhere, the whole county smaller. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Next up is it Michael Burns? Wishes to speak, is opposed.
Good morning. I'm Michael Burns, and I am a resident of Coeur d'Alene. I urge you all to not entertain or approve a data center in this county. These issues always seem to be an us versus them proposition, or rather, we, the people, do not feel like we are being represented, but rather that we are having our constitutional rights eroded. The concept of a data center should be rejected on the basis of water and electricity usage alone. I watched a video that Jennifer sent me, And it's amazing because of the electricity demands of these data centers. This call for reduction in fossil fuels and reduction of CO2 emissions is being put on the back burner because the demand for electricity is so high for these data centers. States offer these corporations preferential rates on water, electricity, and building materials to build these data centers. And guess what? The true costs are being passed on to the people. These data centers, if you didn't already know, are owned primarily by multinational corporations, specifically Amazon, Microsoft, Google, Meta, QTS, and others. At the end of 2024, there were a total of 1,240 data centers in the United States, compared to only 311 in 2010. What type of data is being stored and resold or used by the federal government? No one knows for sure. These data centers, I believe, are undermining our constitutional rights and eroding state sovereignty. Now, Mr. Callahan here mentioned some economic benefits, including increased tax revenues. We could, if we wanted to, legalize prostitution and marijuana if we wanted to increase tax revenue, but I submit that would not be a good idea. What these actually represent is the merging of government and multinational corporations, and in light of the events that have occurred over the past 5 years, this should be absolutely terrifying to everyone present. And I please ask you to do the will of the people. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. Next up, Brooke Miller may wish to speak and is opposed.
Hi there. My name is Brooke Miller. A lot of what I was going to talk about today has been covered because it's a lot of the same issues. I feel like we already do face pressures on our power grid and the water supply. If this project moves forward, will our residents and farmers be forced to compete with servers for those resources? Second, the job creation numbers are misleading. A massive facility like this only creates a few dozen permanent jobs. Meanwhile, it ties up valuable land that could instead host businesses that employ hundreds of local people. Third, I worry about the financial trade-offs. If the county provides tax incentives, who makes up the difference for the schools? And you know they're going to get tax incentives. We all know this. Fire protection, public safety, that burden will inevitably fall back on us, the taxpayers. Finally, there are quality of life concerns. Diesel generators affecting air quality, noise from cooling fans, and industrial buildings that don't fit the character of our community. Once land is rezoned for this use, we can't go back. I urge you to look carefully at the long-term impact. Is this really the best use of our resources, land, and taxpayer dollars? Or are we being asked to sacrifice too much for too little in return? Questions I would have: can you tell us exactly how much water and power this facility will consume compared to the rest of the community? And how will that affect residents' rates? The taxpayer burden. If tax incentives are granted, what is the real net benefit after subtracting the infrastructure costs and lost revenue for schools and public safety? Also, I found it interesting, there was legislation to study how much power data centers use and their impact, but some of that was vetoed or stalled, meaning decisions are made without full information. So I would like full, long studies on this before it's just decided. Somewhere close by in the Quincy area and in Wenatchee, the Washington State Department of Ecology tracks air pollution risks from diesel backup generators used by data centers. I've learned that oftentimes they test. So, hey, if our power goes out, we have to test. and make sure these are going to keep going. Well, how they do that is they have diesel generators. These generators emit fine particulate matter and nitrogen dioxide, which are known to harm respiratory health. These risks are especially concerning to people with asthma, children, elderly, etc. So, sounds like a lot of us have many of the same concerns. I appreciate your attention to this, and obviously I would eventually like a full ban, as of 99% of everyone I talk to, but learning more about it, if it's a conditional use permit, or is that how you say? If that's the way we have to go, I mean, I think whatever we can do immediately is what we need to do, so they can't come in and like someone had said, they're going to find loopholes. These guys have billions and millions of dollars. I was reading an article really recently in the Dalles where they put a data center. Google actually sued to not let that information come out of how much water was being used for one data center. And they finally won and found out that 1/4 of all of the water in the Dalles was being used for one data center, and they are hunting to get 2 more in there. So research, information, all of this is important. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Ms. Miller. Next up, Elsa Owsley. It says wishes to speak, but there's no opposed or neutral or in favor, but I presume opposed.
The reason is that there's 2 kinds of data centers, and I'm completely opposed to the AI data centers, but not necessarily opposed to the regular data centers, and I'll explain why. And those have been around for a long time. The first thing to understand is the nature of how this works. I did just a quick little research. I'm not an expert on this, but there's a lot of information out there that can be had. And the process of AI consists of 4 stages: ingest, preparation, training, and inferencing. Ingest is where the data gets collected, and it consists of pulling data for a variety of sources, and that can be your cell phone. Those apps that we think are free are really not free. They're collecting our data. And social media is a huge part, and those are the 3 highest ones. Preparation is where the majority of the time is spent, approximately 80%. This is consisting of filtering through data, deciding what data is included in creating the AI, inserting much of the morals that the AI operates by, and this part requires the most human interaction. Then is the training part, and that consists of the data crunching. And crunching of the data is the most power-intensive portion of the AI creation. Normal computing racks, which stand at approximately 6 feet tall, consumes between 5 kilowatts to 15 kilowatts of electricity. And an AI training rack consumes between 30 kilowatts and 130 kilowatts of electricity. To give you some perspective on this, an average house will consume between approximately 1.2 kilowatts, and that's with everything in the house running. So it's a huge difference. The International Energy Agency says that any one data center uses the same amount of electricity that it takes to power 400,000 electric vehicles. That's a huge difference, and this is why I'm opposed to the AI data centers. The difference between the 2 is staggering. The final stage of creating the AI model is the inferencing, and this is where the AI is tested, performance is compared to previous AI models, and new data is added which is causing the entire process to start all over again. AI inferencing consumes between 15 to 50 kilowatts per rack. That's just per rack. And think of how many, I didn't have time to research, but there's a ton of them in each data center. If the commissioners want to prevent AI data centers in Kootenai counties, I would suggest that you simply limit the amount of electricity, because my concern, and I appreciate Mr. Callahan's and all the effort that they put in to make those suggestions, but my concern with putting the limitations on water is that these people that want the data centers on have deep pockets, and they can certainly find a way around that. But if you limit that to, and I'll be just really brief, if you were to simply limit the power requirements to less than 10 kilowatts per rack, then that still allows the small data centers that power our banks, credit card companies, other small companies that do need data centers, and those are managed and cooled by simple air conditioning and does not take from our resources.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Next up is Leslie Cole, wishes to speak and is opposed.
Yeah. Hi. So I would just like to quote Charlie Kirk that big government sucks. And then I'd like to reference Chris Ann Hall, who informed us, just do not open the Pandora's box because you can never put it back in. I think that's been carefully explained here today. And if I can, I'd like for you to explain what is the rush? I might have missed that. It might have been clear to others, but I don't get it. What's the rush to make a decision?
Oh, because our moratorium expired. The moratorium that we put in place to prohibit data centers expired. There is nothing in place right now, and therefore, if we receive an application, the likelihood of it going through in certain zones is almost certain without opposition. So this is a way to put brakes on that and guardrails.
We're mostly opposed. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ms. McCamley, I think you came in, wishes to speak, is opposed.
Yes. So first I want to say the reason why I came here late is like most people in this room and most people who wanted to be here today, they work, they have jobs, they own businesses. So the fact that we're even doing this meeting at 10 o'clock in the morning, I'm beyond furious. This is something that's so important. I would really encourage you to start moving these meetings to, I know we have meetings in the evenings, but something this important needed to be moved to an evening, needed to have more public knowledge of what's going on. I know the last meetings were always fighting something around here, it seems like. The last meeting we had where we were told, oh, well, the agenda's always on the website, things like that. The average person does not have time to always be looking at the agenda. I actually had a friend reach out to me, and she was like, I'm trying to get more information about this. I'm like, oh, it's on the website, it's on the agenda, because I didn't have time to start going deep diving into everything. I said, just go to the meeting. And she's like, I went to the website. I'm confused. I don't understand it. So the website, in this person's opinion, was not very friendly. Going back to me walking in late, this is and I'm not just speaking for myself. I'm sure other people feel the same way, but I'm going to talk about my story this morning. This is the busiest time for my business. I work with children. I train teachers. It's the beginning of the school year. I should be at my business right now training my staff. That's why I wasn't here last week, because it was too close to the beginning of the school year. But today, this was so important. I was like, you know what? I have to trust in God and everything else that the kids and the staff is going to be okay. Sorry, new teacher, that you just started with us. Like, you're going to have to kind of be on your own for the next couple hours because I have to rush and do this. Why I'm late this morning? Because I had one of my staff members who was having a family emergency coming into late. So obviously I had to be there with the children. So this is just beyond ridiculous that we have to do this. So I'm encouraging you to start moving things like this in the evenings when people can be available. Also making the public known what's going on, because I'm telling you right now, there's a lot of people who had no idea this was even coming about. Obviously, I'm opposed to any data center. For some people who are saying, like, I feel like with the freedom, we're always going to compromise. Oh, well, I'll compromise if it's not AI. We did this with the license plate readers. There's no compromising our freedom. Our freedom is not for sale. There's no compromising. We don't want any data center whatsoever. So we're saying no, and I guarantee if we start letting the public, which we will, I mean, I guess that's our responsibility in this room who's against it, to start letting the public know. And I know you guys have gotten emails and phone calls. I hope you're reading those emails, because I know I've talked to commissioners in the past, and I know it's like, well, we can't get through all the emails because there's so many coming in. So I really encourage you to look through those emails, because again, I guarantee the majority of our community do not want this.
Thank you. Next up is Scott Schofield. May wish to speak and is opposed. Good morning. You have 3 minutes.
So I agree 100%. Fortunately, my schedule is pretty flexible as a salesman that I was able to attend that last meeting. And there was only, I think, 8 of us there. And the word didn't get out. But the word out got enough here. We've almost quadrupled our size here on short order. So I echo that same sentiment. When we attended that meeting, I was really observing the council members there, and there's a lot of deer in the headlight look through the process, through the explanation, and that kind of struck me odd because, and there was one, when it was all said and done, there was one council member that had the guts, just because I know the moratorium is expiring, said, why can't we put this moratorium, put it in place again? So I don't know if there's that possibility of doing, but she brought it up, and there's a couple council members that were on the teeter to go that way, but they didn't do it, because what is the rush? Get a moratorium, because there were so many amongst them. They were talking, there was a lot of questions that were being asked, and a lot of these things were brought up today. Some of the things that you'll hear if you guys do go back and listen to the recording of that, so that was brought up that, the electric that's needed, it required enough power to power up 1,000 homes. So that's a pretty good draw. Yeah, we might have great rates today, but if we're going to start absorbing our electrical power, our rates are soon to go up. As far as the economic benefit, is short term, because that'll be during the construction period. With the advancement of AI, question you guys should be thinking about is what kind of jobs will be brought here after all the construction labor jobs are gone, which probably, by the way, are not even going to be Idaho employee workers. They'll probably be shipped in. So what kind of labor is going to be brought here to Post Falls? Are they going to be imported labor? Obviously, we've seen a recent South Korean auto company just got busted for importing their own South Korean labor force in to build these cars. So they've been exposed. So is that something to be thinking about? And then the electrical use I brought up. The position of the data centers was a question that was asked. How safe is a data center to a residence? There's still a lot of unknown about that. How safe that's going to be. The noise pollution that the data centers do draw. And so I'd like to suggest, there's data centers going all through the country. Why not review and wait and see what some of these other data centers are doing, get the pros and the cons, and see what that might be some issues. Because if it's technology, we know technology is going extremely fast. I mean, you've got enough data right here that the computers of old would have been the size of this building. So that's something to consider. But
Well, thank you.
I would like to oppose and say no data.
Thank you. Next up is Cheryl Schofield. May wish to speak. Opposed?
Hi. You guys know me from my other river issue, so I hope I see you at the October 6th meeting, public hearing.
Yeah, we can't go together because it would be an open meeting violation. So we can't attend things like that if we're going to have to make any decisions.
Okay, so who's coming? No. Anyway, okay, well, I haven't done a lot of research on this issue, but from what I know, the only upside of this thing is money for certain people. It's money for huge corporations. It's money for whoever is going to be selling land possibly to the corporations. They bribe our cities with money for schools, all this stuff. But if we're all dying of thirst and have to run out of this community because of a drought, the education money is going to not mean a thing. And so I would say don't even postpone it 3 months, because I can tell people are going to scoop up the opportunity as soon as anyone has a chance to give them an offer. And I live within 1 to 2 miles of the light industrial zoning that's out on Pleasant View, and I don't want that by my house. So, thank you.
Thank you. The next folks I have did not mark that they wish to speak, or some of them, well, these two are here. Gina Magby is opposed. David Magby is opposed.
Do you want to speak? Okay.
Yeah, well, come on up. You have 3 minutes, sir.
Good morning. Typically, this is way out of my comfort zone. I'm generally in the back of the room kind of person. Folks, you have been given more than enough information. These folks behind me have done their homework because they live here. They have an invested interest in living here, having families, having healthy environments. We have watched over the last 4 or 5 years, the last presidential election, and we have come to realize that the things that motivate people are money, power, and control. And when somebody is voted into a position of authority, a responsibility to oversee the best interest of the people that they are supposedly representing, they suddenly go sideways. And we're seeing this right now. And we won't forget when election time comes again. So I hope you remember that. Thank you.
Please. Good. Next up is, again, forgive me, Jody Pobb does not wish to speak and is opposed. Tara Erickson does not wish to speak and is opposed. Kathy Thompson does not wish to speak, is opposed. Amber Pulmentier does not wish to speak, is opposed. Jared Cooper does not wish to speak, is opposed. Joy Cooper does not wish to speak, is opposed. Catherine Karen does not wish to speak, is opposed. Would you like to speak? Come on up.
Hi, my name is Catherine Karen. I am one of the, in a roundabout way, transplants from California in 2020. And I will tell you, I am probably one of the very few people who came here and it had nothing to do with COVID, mask mandates, politics in California. All of those, don't get me wrong, were a ginormous bonus. But it's not the reason I came here. The reason I came here was largely because I had an extremely sick child who'd been sick for 6 years, and I had been fighting situations in California. He'd been injured by mold. The EMF situation in California is horrific in Southern California. I was fighting against EMF cell towers that were in school playing fields and all the rest of it. And part of moving here on my own with 3 children was because this is a lake town. It had dry air, the quality of air, the lack of pollution. There was a treatment center here. And to me, it was that was a huge reason as to why I moved here. And so to now be dealing with these issues of these huge, ginormous monstrosities is heartbreaking for me. But my understanding is that, from what I'm hearing, is that we're perhaps on the same side here. One of the issues is how do we close the loopholes so that we're able to fight this? And so I'm just wondering if there is anything that we as a group can do more research on and help with that situation. I know, for example, when I was fighting cell phone towers, you could not fight against health. It was not legally allowed. You could use the landscape, just it being a complete and utter eyesore on a canyon or whatever. That was a reason to potentially fight cell phone towers that were coming in. And I'm just wondering, are you allowed to tell us? Is there a direction that we can be pointed in that would give us, is there any precedence on where other towns have fought this and won? Do we know what the legitimate ways to fight this are, other than just we don't want it, or it's going to be an electricity nightmare?
Well, I would suggest looking at case law, because it's one thing to go to court, it's another to lose. And if one has to go to court, you should go to court with the intent to win. And so laying out that framework in the beginning makes a big difference. So that's where I would start, is case law. There was another speaker who talked about the DALs, and there was a lawsuit about the amount of water that was being used. So you can see that for some of these corporations, there's a lot of money. They get the very best attorneys, and they know how to navigate the system. So that's where I would start.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. That's it for the list. Is there anyone in the room who has not spoken, who would like to speak and is opposed to this ordinance? Okay. Anyone for the ordinance? Anyone else who would like to speak? Anyone on the telephone? For or against? Going once? Going twice? Okay. Anyone up here have any questions for staff? No? Okay, well then I'll take a motion to end testimony and move into deliberations.
I move that we end public testimony and enter into deliberations.
Second.
Commissioner Eberline?
Aye.
Commissioner Duncan?
Aye.
Chair Matari?
Aye. Thoughts?
Well, the history of this for us was staff had come to us asking for an emergency moratorium so they could get some things in place, because they did not want a data center to come forward and be forced to approve it. So this board agreed to that, and then this was just conditions. And for conditional use permits, it's not an outright approval. What happens is we get to weigh the citizen input heavier or as heavy as the law. So that's why conditional use permits are good for the community in these types of uses. Now, for me today, I want something in place right away. So if we approve the conditional use permit, I'm still interested in going forward with either the second 6 months moratorium or just go straight into publication for an outright ban. That's what I would be ready to do.
Commissioner Eberline?
Oh, boy. Artificial intelligence, it's an oxymoron if you ask me. It's a manipulator with a computer. There's lots of barren dirt down in Boise area, and they like those things down there.
And they're building one right now.
Absolutely, knock themselves out. But people move up here to North Idaho for a particular reason. They didn't go to South Idaho, they came to North Idaho. We want to have nice stuff up here. We want good trees, we want good lawns, we want lots of water. I think it's a travesty if something like this happens. That's my opinion.
Well, I think like Commissioner Duncan said, if we do not pass the ordinance, then there is no mechanism for people necessarily to have a say in what happens. So, and that's as of right now. And today, all we can talk about is this ordinance. We can't say we want to put another moratorium in because it's not a properly noticed meeting. And we can't say we want to ban it in any way, shape, or form in the ordinance, because that's not what we're discussing right now. So I think from the interim perspective, we should do this, but I think we should continue the discussions on what further can be done, and that we whatever we end up doing will hold up in court. I don't mind going into litigation. I just don't like losing it.
So I have one more question. Can we add another condition that it would not be placed over the aquifer? Or does that have to be republished and all that?
No, you can, if at least two of you agree, you can add that as a condition.
Okay, and then I would request either we go to a second moratorium, which I think we can do, or,
There's a 1-year waiting period between moratoriums according
Oh.
to state law, and so that's
Okay.
part of the reason we're here.
okay,
Yeah, we just can't do
Then
it.
the second moratorium, a year after, couldn't be adopted until a year after the first one expired, and then that's only good for 182 days.
sure. But I mean, if we go ahead with publication of a ban and all that, that's still fine.
That, yeah, I mean, we can go any direction you want in terms of, a subsequent ordinance.
All right, so then we can include in the motion to approve the ordinance and then provide direction to develop another ordinance that would provide for an outright ban in unincorporated
Correct.
county.
And so I would ask the audience, if you do live in an incorporated city, apparently Hayden has banned them, but if you live in Coeur d'Alene or anything, be beating down those city councils so they actually get a ban as well. Because a lot of times, the county gets the pressure from city folk and from county folk, and the cities do whatever they want. So please keep that in mind. Are you ready for motion?
I'm ready for the motion, and I agree with what you said. Thank you.
Yes.
I move that we approve ORA 25-0007 data centers conditional use permit with the condition that it cannot be located over the aquifer, with the instructions that ordinance for outright ban come before the board.
Second.
Commissioner Eberline,
Aye.
Commissioner Duncan,
Aye.
Chair Matari.
Aye, motion carries. We have a new business, no further deliberations, 11:11, meeting adjourned. Thank you all for coming out.